Look into any teacup, and you gaze into the mirror of modern history. Its leaves carry the quiet weight of human empire. It is the ultimate paradox, a simple leaf that inspired transcendent spiritual peace, yet sparked wars, drug trades, and corporate monopolies. Yet despite its turbulent history, tea remains at its heart, an invitation to slow down, breathe, and find quiet presence. Nations fall, empires collapse, trade routes shift, but the eternal cycle of leaf, water, and fire endures unchanged across millennia. The leaf of empire continues to brew, connecting our past, present, and future in every single sip.
Once upon a time, before oil or algorithms, global trade was driven by an insatiable craving for a bitter infusion that transformed global economics forever. In the chilly waters of Boston Harbor, a rebellion was born not over abstract ideologies, but over the taxation of this quiet daily ritual. But to understand how a leaf conquered the West, we must return to where it all began, in the misty, sacred peaks of ancient China. Legend claims that in 2737 BCE, an emperor discovered tea by pure accident when wild leaves blew into his boiling cauldron.
For centuries, tea was not a beverage of luxury, but a bitter medicinal tonic praised by herbalists for curing ailments and clarifying the mind. Buddhist monks adopted the brew during long hours of meditation, discovering its unique power to sustain alertness without agitation. In the 8th century, Lu Yu authored the Cha Jing, codifying tea into a spiritual art form and cultural pillar of the Tang dynasty. Leaves were steamed, pulverized, and compressed into hard bricks, portable currency easy to transport across vast trade paths. Along the perilous tea horse road, traders exchanged precious Chinese tea bricks for sturdy Tibetan war horses, expanding China's frontiers.
By the Song dynasty, tea culture reached unprecedented refinement. Whipped powdered tea created delicate foams worthy of imperial contests. Japanese monks carried these rituals home, evolving them into chanoyu, a sacred tea ceremony built on harmony, respect, and tranquility. When the Ming Emperor banned compressed tea bricks, loose leaf steeping was born, setting the exact standard the West would soon encounter. In the 16th century, Portuguese traders arriving in Macau tasted this exotic Eastern infusion, writing home about a strange leaf that cured fatigue. The Dutch East India Company brought the first commercial shipment of tea to Europe in 1610, marketing it as an expensive novelty for royalty.
When Portuguese Princess Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II in 1662, she brought her daily tea habit to the English court, making it elite. Tea quickly spread from royal palaces to London's vibrant coffee houses, the physical network where modern finance and news were born. Seeing immense profits, the British East India Company secured a crown monopoly on tea imports, preparing to dominate global maritime trade. But China wanted nothing Britain produced. The Qing Empire demanded payment exclusively in pure silver, creating a massive trade deficit. Confined strictly to the port of Canton, European merchants were forced to yield to strict Chinese imperial trade rules just to secure tea.
By 1750, tea had crossed class lines in Britain. From factory workers to nobles, it was a daily necessity that kept the empire energized. To exploit this obsession, the British government slapped astronomical taxes on imported tea, often exceeding 100% of its actual value. High duties triggered a golden age of smuggling. Over half the tea consumed in Britain and its colonies was brought in illegally without tax. Illicit markets bloomed with adulterated smouch, fake tea crafted from leaves mixed with sheep dung, sawdust, and dangerous chemical dyes. In the American colonies, tea
tea was equally central to social life, bridging European sophistication with American colonial identity.
When Parliament introduced taxes on colonial imports without colonial representation, tea instantly transformed from a luxury into a political flashpoint. The 1767 Townshend Acts taxed essential imports. Though most duties were later repealed, Britain kept the tax on tea to assert sovereignty. Patriotic colonists organized non-importation agreements, boycotting taxed British tea and opting instead for smuggled Dutch tea or native herbal substitutes. Facing bankruptcy due to colonial boycotts and surplus stock, the East India Company begged Parliament for a bailout. Parliament passed the Tea Act of 1773, allowing the company to sell tea directly to colonies tax-free, undercutting smuggled Dutch prices.
Colonists saw right through the price cut. It was a trap to establish a corporate monopoly and trick them into accepting parliamentary taxation. In late November 1773, 3 tea ships arrived in Boston. Governor Hutchinson insisted the cargo be unloaded. The Patriots swore it never would be. For 20 days, a tense standoff held the city frozen. If the tax wasn't paid by December 16, customs officers would seize the ships by force. On the final night, 5,000 citizens gathered inside Old South Meeting House. Samuel Adams declared, "This meeting can do nothing more to save the country." At that signal, the Sons of Liberty rushed into the cold air, heading straight for Griffin's Wharf, disguised as Mohawk warriors to conceal identities. With surgical precision and total quiet, they boarded all 3 vessels. No crew were harmed, and no property other than the tea was touched. Over 3 hours, 342 chests containing 92,000 pounds of tea, worth over $2 million today, were destroyed, turning the harbor into a massive teapot. By morning, the tide had carried floating mounds of tea across the bay. The point was made. America would not be forced to drink taxed tea. Furious at this destruction of private property, Parliament passed the brutal Coercive Acts, closing Boston Harbor and imposing martial law. Instead of isolating Massachusetts, the punishment united 12 colonies. The destruction of tea set the direct path toward the Revolutionary War.
Having lost the American colonies, Britain faced an even deadlier crisis, an insatiable domestic tea habit that threatened to drain the empire's silver reserves. The East India Company engineered a dark solution: force Indian farmers to grow opium, then trade the illegal narcotic for Chinese tea. Industrialized narcotic production transformed Bengal into the center of illicit global trade network designed to balance the tea books. Bribing corrupt Qing officials, British merchants flooded southern China with tons of high-grade Bengal opium, reversing the silver flow completely. Millions of Chinese lives were devastated by addiction. For the first time in history, silver flowed out of China and into British corporate coffers. Appointed by the Daoguang Emperor, Commissioner Lin Zexu arrived in Canton in 1839 with an absolute mandate: destroy the opium trade forever. Lin seized and destroyed over 20,000 chests of British opium, 2.6 million pounds, dissolving them in lime pits by the sea. Britain responded with brutal military force, and the First Opium War began, a war fought directly to protect drug profits that funded British tea. The 1842 Treaty of Nanking forced China to cede Hong Kong, open 5 treaty ports, and pay massive silver indemnities. Despite victory, British leaders realized a terrifying truth: China still held a complete monopoly on the living tea plants and processing secrets.
Enter Robert Fortune, a Scottish botanist hired by the East India Company to commit the greatest act of industrial espionage in history. Disguised as a Mandarin,
Fortune infiltrated protected tea regions where Europeans were strictly forbidden under penalty of death. Fortune successfully smuggled over 20,000 tea plants and seeds out of China, sealed inside revolutionary glass terrariums called Wardian cases. Along with plants, Fortune recruited expert Chinese tea workers, stealing millennia of secret manufacturing knowledge to establish tea production in India. The Great Theft succeeded. Within decades, British plantations in India would eclipse Chinese tea production entirely, shifting global trade power.
Even before Fortune's theft, British explorers discovered a native wild tea variant in Assam, bolder, darker, and perfectly suited for industrial scale. Millions of acres of Indian forest were bulldozed, replacing wild ecosystems with hyper-regimented British tea plantations. The empire built its tea machine on brutal labor exploitation, tricking millions of indentured Indian laborers into harsh, lifelong plantation servitude. Mechanization replaced traditional handcrafting. Steam-powered rollers processed thousands of pounds of leaf per hour with machine precision. To get fresh crop tea to London first, legendary clipper ships raced across oceans, competing for massive cash prizes and glory.
The opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 killed the graceful clipper ships, replacing them with steamships that slashed transit times to weeks. When a devastating fungus wiped out Ceylon's coffee crop overnight, planters converted the entire island to tea, creating a global tea giant. Thomas Lipton democratized tea, removing middleman costs, packaging it in standardized, affordable tins, direct from tea garden to teapot. Paired with cheap slave-grown sugar, hot, sweet black tea provided cheap caloric energy that fueled the human engines of the Industrial Revolution. Strong, astringent Indian black teas demanded milk and sugar to soften their bitterness, creating the quintessential British cuppa.
During a scorching summer heat wave at the 1904 World's Fair, iced tea was born, forever altering American beverage culture. In 1908, merchant Thomas Sullivan sent tea samples in small silk pouches. Customers mistakenly dropped the whole pouch into water, inventing the tea bag. The convenience of the tea bag revolutionized consumption, prioritizing speed and ease over traditional loose-leaf steeping traditions. In the horror of World War I trenches, hot tea was the ultimate morale booster, a vital comfort connecting soldiers to home. The invention of the crush-tear curl machine processed leaves into tiny, uniform dark pellets, perfect for quick-steeping commercial tea bags.
During World War II, the British government bought every pound of black tea available globally, deeming it as essential to victory as ammunition. Through the horror of the Blitz, mobile tea vans served millions of cups, becoming the ultimate symbol of British resilience and unity. Post-war consolidation saw massive multinational corporations take over global tea brands, turning a sacred art into a mass commodity. Tea became ubiquitous, standardized, and cheap, conveniently packaged in paper bags that obscured its rich, violent, and complex history. By the late 20th century, the global consumer was completely disconnected from the mountain origins, cultures, and human cost behind the brew.
But at the dawn of the 21st century, a quiet revolution began, a global return to origin, craftsmanship, and loose-leaf appreciation. Ancient processing methods were resurrected. Artisanal teas like Mother Tree Da Hong Pao became more valuable per ounce than pure gold. Taiwan mastered high mountain oolongs, blending traditional hand-rolling techniques with precise microclimate terroirs to create complex aromatic profiles. The Gongfu tea ceremony regained global popularity, reintroducing mindful steeping rituals that honor leaf quality over instant convenience. Yunnan's fermented pu'er teas became prized like fine vintage wines, aging for decades to unlock deep, earthy, complex medicinal flavors.
Today, modern consumers demand ethical accountability, pushing the industry to address centuries of colonial labor inequalities through fair trade certification. Climate change now threatens traditional tea regions. Unpredictable droughts, floods, and shifting temperature zones endanger fragile harvest cycles. Modern scientific research confirms what ancient monks knew. The unique synergy of caffeine and L-theanine creates calm focus and powerful health benefits. Ancient Japanese powdered matcha exploded into a multi-billion-dollar global wellness trend, dominating modern coffee houses worldwide. Born in Taiwan, bubble tea captured youth culture across the globe, reinventing tea for a dynamic new generation of drinkers. Cold drip extraction techniques unlock natural sweetness without bitterness, proving the versatile leaf continues to evolve with modern tastes. Fine dining now accords tea the same status as rare wines, celebrating terroir, harvest elevation, and master processing techniques. Boundaries continue to blur as global cultures fuse tea leaves with wild herbs, fruits, and adaptogens for personalized wellness. Communities are reclaiming indigenous tea heritage, protecting ancient old-growth tea forests from industrial overexploitation. Across every continent, religion, and social standing, tea remains humanity's universal language, a shared moment of connection.
Look into any teacup, and you gaze into the mirror of modern history. Its leaves carry the quiet weight of human empire. It is the ultimate paradox, a simple leaf that inspired transcendent spiritual peace, yet sparked wars, drug trades, and corporate monopolies. Yet despite its turbulent history, tea remains at its heart, an invitation to slow down, breathe, and find quiet presence. Nations fall, empires collapse, trade routes shift, but the eternal cycle of leaf, water, and fire endures unchanged across millennia. The leaf of empire continues to brew, connecting our past, present, and future in every single sip.